Good morning. It's May in Florida. The days are getting hotter and longer as we ease into the growing season. Add some water and we get flush new growth. With new growth, we get something that wants to eat it. So let's jump right into it and talk about the things you'll see in the field and how the girls in the office can handle some of the phone calls over the phone. Some of the things we're going to talk about today will be insects, fungus, and some seasonal conditions that are going on out there. So let's jump right into insects and talk about ants. There are over 12,000 different species of ants worldwide. The lawn department is only worried about one, and that is fire ants. There are two different kinds of fire ants in Florida. There's the native fire ants and there's the imported fire ants. The imported fire ants are the large fire ant mounds that most people see and associate with fire ants. The native fire ants, they have a mound that takes up just as much square footage, but it's flat. They're just as aggressive as the imported fire ants, and they are always a concern. When you're out in the field and you're looking at ants and you're trying to explain to the customer what the difference is, the main thing is that are they seeing large mounds? Are they seeing little mounds with holes in the middle? The large mounds, of course, are fire ants. The little mounds with a hole in the middle are probably pyramid ants. Pyramid ants are not treatable. They actually help keep fire ants and other insects off the yard, so they are considered beneficial. Now, a lot of our competitors do have fire ant programs out there, but fire ant programs are expensive and they don't work well enough to justify the cost. I personally do not want to put Prostaff's name on something that I don't have total faith in. So what we do for fire ants is it's a search and destroy, and it's very effective. If you ever have a problem with fire ants on your yard, don't hesitate to call. The next insect we want to talk about is mole crickets. May is peak laying season for mole crickets. The first half of the month, we will see swarms. The swarmers die by the end of the month, and we kill the juveniles in June and July. One thing to consider is that mole crickets are attracted to light. They swarm at night, so if a customer has his lights on at night, he's going to see a lot more mole crickets than he should. Just turning off the lights will deter that problem. Millipedes, what do they look like? Millipedes are about an inch long, and they're about as wide around as a pencil lead. So they're not a very big insect. They do come out in large numbers. They particularly come out after the sprinkler has run or after a rain. Millipedes, it's not something that we can keep out of the yard. Our pest control department does have a better chance of keeping them out of the house, however. The reason we can't keep them out of the lawn is because they have an ectoskeleton and everything just kind of washes off of them. However, millipedes eat decaying vegetation and chinch bug nymphs. They are not a lawn damaging insect. They don't sting, they don't bite, and they are beneficial for the lawn. Sod webworms and moths. That's a big issue this time of the year. The main thing you're looking for when wondering if it's time to treat is you look for patches of mowed turf. Sod webworms, they feed all night and sleep all day. So the difference between one day to the next can be quite dramatic. All webworms eat are the leaf blades. They don't affect the runners. They don't affect the root system. If we can get out there and kill them, the grass comes right back. They are capable of killing grass, though, if left untreated, because plants in general cannot survive without leaf blades. The moths first start to appear around May or June. They only live 2 to 3 days. We cannot treat for moths. The time to spray is after the eggs hatch and you see the patches of mowed turf. Chinch bugs, another big issue this time of year. Big issue every summer. They are about 1/8 of an inch long. They're very small. When they're nymphs, they are red in color, kind of an orangish color. As they develop wings, they get a white line across the back. As they get older, they turn black. As the wings grow, they cross, and then that's when they get a white diamond on the back. Chinch bugs are typically found in dry spots of the yard. It's not that the dry spot is a feeding ground, it's that it's a breeding ground because it's a nice hot spot in the yard, and that's how eggs hatch, is in the warm areas. The eggs hatch and then they spread out to the surrounding good grass. A good way to keep chinch bugs off the lawn is to irrigate your yard properly. A well-irrigated lawn has a much smaller chance of getting a chinch bug issue. Aphids. Now we're on to shrubs. Shrubs in June and May, they develop a lot of new growth. Of course, that new growth is nothing but food for insects. The clearest sign that you have an aphid problem is the black sooty mold. You will see that underneath an insect issue. If you see a black plant, it's worthwhile to go take a closer look. There's not that many black plants out there. You look for curled and distorted new growth. Aphids can be found on the underside of new growth. There's a lot of other insects that are very active during the early summer. They would be scale insects or mealy bugs. Mealy bugs are actually white. They look like a tiny white dinosaur. Certainly if the plant is being affected and it has a lot of insects, you can be assured that that's what's causing the issue and it's time to spray. Mushrooms. Mushrooms are the result of decaying vegetation and moisture. Grass clippings and afternoon rains can create mushrooms the following morning. The afternoon heat will cause them to dry up, so treatment is not necessary and they cause no damage. Dollar spot fungus. We don't get a lot of fungus issues in this kind of heat. However, all fungus issues are moisture related, and we do get a lot of rain during the summer, so you can expect some fungus issues, but there's only a couple of them out there. Dollar spot fungus is one of them. Dollar spot fungus will become a problem in May with warm and humid temps. The disease will become much more active. Dollar spot is about the size of your fist, and they're usually in an isolated part of the yard. It's not something that will spread. It's not something that will get worse. It actually pops up overnight and it's done all the damage it's going to do. It is not a treatable fungus. When it pops up, the best thing we can do is fertilize it and get the grass to grow to fill back in. It does not damage a large portion of your grass. It's a minor issue. Gray leaf spot fungus. If we get a lot of rain, and I'm talking like 7 days straight of rain, things will start to turn bad. Gray leaf spot, it is what it says it is. It's gray leaf spots on the leaf blades. When it gets really bad, it can look like a blowtorch hit the yard. It is, again, usually in isolated parts of the yard. It can happen in full sun, but it happens with high humidity, everyday rains, and a lot of cloudy days. We generally see it around July, because here in the last 4 or 5 years, July has been when we've gotten everyday rains. Treatments generally aren't necessary unless it's extremely bad. We will apply a fungicide on it if it's gotten to that degree. But again, it's fertilizer that grows it out and you just mow it off. It does not damage the turf. You should not lose any turf over gray leaf spot fungus. Some of the problems that are going away, that would be brown patch fungus and our winter annual weeds. Brown patch fungus pops up around October as the evenings cool off and the days are short. When that happens, of course, you're holding more moisture, and that's when you can get a fungus issue like brown patch fungus. Now that the days have gotten longer and it's getting into the 90s, that will go away. If somebody says they've got a brown patch issue, that's probably not what it is. It's certainly worth checking out because stranger things have happened, but it's unlikely to be a brown patch fungus issue. Our winter annual weeds will, of course, start to die out. Unfortunately, they get replaced by summer annual weeds, but it's always something. It's outside and it's Florida. Best way to have a weed-free yard is to have a thick, healthy St. Augustine grass. Proper watering, proper mowing, all that has the effect on having that perfect yard that we all want you to have. Thank you.